So you're probably asking yourself, what is this? So anyways, Matt's grandma died. It's really sad. And he had to go to Georgia for the funeral, and he couldn't be here on Thursday. And they asked me if I'd fill in. I said no. And he was like, please. So finally I said, all right, fine. But I want to do an MPD classic video. MPD recently bought Salo 120 Days of Sodom from BFI, UK, Blu-ray, and I recently got Caligula. And there was an argument, well, not really an argument, but a discussion amongst me and Joshua, which one was more graphic, 120 Days of Sodom or Caligula. So I checked out both of them yesterday. And so this is the review. Sodom in the title refers to Sodom and Gomorrah, which were two towns during the biblical days. And the Sodom people, or the Sodomites, were famous for sodomy, which is where you fuck somebody in the ass. And you think, okay, well, that just refers to like their sexual depravity? Not really. There's a lot of ass love in this movie, and most of it dude on dude ass loving. The thing about Salo is it's not graphic. A lot of people go, oh, it's so graphic. Not really. Everything in Salo, from the cinematography and the mise-en-scene and the way people behave, is consistently to de-emphasize the carnal nature of what they're doing. So when you see somebody having sex, it's not shot in a way to arouse the audience, but to sort of disgust them. Basically, it's based on this manuscript by Marquis de Sade, who's this like French dude who wrote a bunch of sex novels and pissed everybody off, and he got thrown in the can. And Pasolini saw this story about these four libertines who hire these prostitutes to tell them sex stories about clients who had disgusting fetishes that increasingly get more and more depraved as they went along. And then they kidnap a bunch of these like kids and teenagers and stuff, and then torture and rape them while they listen to these stories. That was the manuscript that the Marquis de Sade wrote. And Pasolini saw that as a metaphor for the fascist regime in Italy and Germany during World War II, and so he wanted to make a film that reflected that. So he changed the characters from being French libertines into Nazis. Well, they're not really Nazis, but they're Italian, whatever the fuck the Italian people were called. And that's basically what the story is. These guys kidnap a bunch of town people, no children, but teenagers, young adults. They lock them in this house, and they're supposed to torture and rape them, but that doesn't really happen a whole lot. Again, Salo is sort of really de-emphasized. Salo is a metaphor. I don't necessarily know if the metaphor is as clear as it probably could have been, but it is what it is. Basically, Salo is broken up into three sections. The first section where they kidnap them, they tell them all the rules, and then they make them listen to a bunch of stories. Most of the stories are kind of boring. They're not really told well. If I was there, I'd be going to sleep. Then the second section is called Circle of Shit, and it becomes like all about scheisse eating. But none of it is very graphic, again. Like you go into it and you hear it and you think it's going to be graphic, but if you've seen Two Girls, One Cup, that's 10 times more graphic than anything in Salo. Although there are some scenes where if you have a weak constitution for scheisse eating, you're not going to want to watch this movie. Because they bring in a big tub. They make everybody save their feces, and they collect it in a big tub, and they make everybody eat it. But again, it's not... Some of it is disgusting, and that scene is relatively short. And again, they're really... The whole point of Salo, you're watching it, you're thinking, why are they even bothering kidnapping these girls? Because they may do like one guy in the butt, but really basically all they do is they screw each other and the guards. And you just keep thinking the whole time, like, why do they even have these other people here? They never do the prostitutes, they never really touch the girls, and it's just like... Caligula, on the other hand, is a story about Caligula Caesar, also called Little Boots. Gore Vidal is this very famous, very well-respected, award-winning writer. He'd written the screenplay for Ben-Hur, and he'd done a whole bunch of other stuff. And now I think he writes a lot of sort of political commentary books or something. And he wrote the script based on the third emperor of Rome, who basically delved into a certain degree of depravity himself. As a result of this really great script, they were able to get a lot of really well-known actors, including Peter O'Toole, if you don't know who that is. Watch some fucking movies. Sir John Gielgud, who was knighted by the Queen of England because of his contributions to art. He's just an amazing actor. Helen Mirren, who at that time wasn't as big as she is now, or as well known, but still Helen Mirren, and Malcolm McDowell. So basically, when they were out looking for the money to make this movie, they really couldn't find it. And then these people at Penthouse, and yes, I do mean the adult magazine Penthouse, was like, yeah, we'll give you some money to make that. And so they did. And they went and they made the movie. Well, when it was done, the guy who was like the producer for Penthouse was like, this isn't what we wanted. So he went out and shot like a bunch of like lesbian scenes and sex orgies, and basically just went out and shot a bunch of pornographic material, and then re-edited the movie to insert his pornographic materials, which is the unrated version. Now there are 3 versions of Caligula. There's a theatrical version, the unrated version, and an alternate version. Compared to Salo, Caligula is not de-emphasized. Everything is up front and in your face. In the first hour and a half of the movie, there's not a single scene where there are not some titties or a cock. There is a whole lot of nudity. There are sections where just nobody's wearing clothes. There are graphic portrayals where you see dudes, whacking it in a little bowl, and this other woman is like rubbing it on her like it was lotion. And you think, oh, but this is a mainstream movie. Like, you may see that in like a hardcore sex movie, but this was a mainstream movie with mainstream actors, and you don't expect to see it, and then you see some dude like, popping one off in a cup and then like using it to bathe this woman in. There are scenes where one guy who was completely innocent gets his dick cut off and fed to a dog, and these other women piss on his dead body, and just shit like that, and you're just watching it, and it seems more graphic than Salo because it is in your face. It is not de-emphasized. In fact, it is consistently brought up. And it really is a movie about the eccentricities and the excesses that he goes through, and eventually leads to his ultimate demise because he, fucks everybody over. But one of the things that he does is he creates a state-sponsored brothel and then puts all the senators' wives in there as the prostitutes and shit like that. But Caligula, I think, as a whole, is still a much better movie than Salo. It has a point to it. And when you're watching it, you're thinking, okay, I can follow this. It has a story, it has a point. Whereas Salo didn't really feel like it had a point. It felt like it was a wandering metaphor that you were just trying desperately to decipher. I recommend you see both of the movies. They both have their importance. But yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, Caligula, gonna get an 8. Salo a 4. MPD edition. That's it. Peace.